Hello, it's Mzi here. Welcome to the third lesson of the first module. But before we go deep into that, let's just recap. Last week we showed you how to break down a purpose into actionable steps so that you don't feel like your purpose is too big to be achieved. We also touched on long-term goals. We showed you how to break down your long-term goal into short-term goals and then break down those short-term goals into action steps. For the past two lessons, we showed you that a problem leads to a solution leads to a purpose, a long-term goal and short-term goal, and long-term goals to short-term goals, and then short-term goals to action steps. Let's begin with the last lesson of this groundwork module. Today we're going to look at putting a system together to implement all that we've discussed in the past two lessons. We've touched on purpose so that you know why you're doing what you're doing. We also touched on goals so that you can make your purpose actionable. And today we're focusing on systems so that you begin to implement your action steps. Okay, number one, techniques and the 80-20 selection. Action steps tell you what you need to do. Techniques help you know how to do what you need to do. They help you know how to go about doing that specific action step. A technique is the method or approach you will use to achieve your action step. You need to come up with at least 3 techniques, and the reason why I say 3 is because you need to cut away the techniques that will waste your time and only use the one that will give you the most results with less effort. Like, there are so many techniques that have become a norm, but that doesn't mean we need to follow those techniques. For example, like let's say our action step was to find a recipe. The technique that is a norm would be to go get a recipe book and then find a recipe from that cookbook. The thing about the 80-20 selection is that it asks the question that, does looking for a recipe in a cookbook bring 80% of the results with 20% of the effort? Like, for example, if my short-term goal is to find a recipe, there are lots of ways I can find recipes. My techniques can vary from Googling a recipe, asking my mom, or checking out a cooking magazine. But from these 3 techniques, we need to find out which will only need 20% of my effort but yield 80% of the results. This principle is called the 80-20 Pareto's principle. So let's compare these 3 techniques. So let's say the first one is I'm going to Google search. So Google searching, it's quick, and Google already qualifies the best and approved content by putting it on the first page of Google. So once the suggestions are up, I'll only need to click the top link and not worry about the second and the third page because Google ranks the content based on how best it is. The second option might be asking mom. So with asking mom, I'll need to call my mom, which is airtime. She'll have to tell me all the ingredients on the phone, which might take time. And if she can get the measurement right, because with my mom, I mean, with baking that cake, it has become like so easy to her that she doesn't even measure anymore. So she'll still need to figure out the measurements of the flour, the measurements of this, and that is another time waster. So the third option might be buying a book. So you'll need to buy a book, flip through the pages. Actually, you first need to find that book, buy it, and then flip through the pages to find the recipe that you want. And by that time, you would have wasted money traveling, going to exclusive books, and buying the book. So that is too much effort. So between these 3 techniques, the one that works best is the Google search because it saves you time, it saves you money. Are you getting the idea? The whole point with the 80-20 selection is for you to work smart, not for you to work hard. But in order for you to work smart, you need to work at it. It takes most of your time and energy at the beginning, but once you have that system, you can always go back and use it on different things. Number 3, sequence. Remember you had to make a list of all your to-do lists and it wasn't random? Now it's time to arrange all that you need to do based on priorities. Arrange each to-do according to priority so that your implementation process goes smoothly. This will help you save time. For example, let's say, imagine you're asked to spring clean a house. You need to wash the windows, dust the ceilings, dust the furniture, and you begin by cleaning the floors before doing everything else. By the time you're done with the windows and the ceiling and the furniture, you will have to scrub the floors again because of the footprints that you made while you were cleaning the windows and the other things. So sequence avoids that to happen. If you were to clean a house, you would have to start at the top and work your way down. It would be the worst sequence to start by cleaning the floors and then clean the windows and then dust the place, because while cleaning the windows you may spill water on the floor and have to mop the floor all over again, which is just a waste of time. So that's the reason why you need to implement sequencing. Number 4, the time budget. After sequencing all your to-dos, you will need to work out the amount of time you will dedicate on each to-do. With the time budget, you need to budget out a day, time spent, and what will be done on that day. If, for instance, you have 8 hours, then you need to cover an hour or 2 out of that day, which you will dedicate into doing work regarding that short-term goal. With all your to-do time estimates put together, you will have to plan out on your calendar on what day and when between 9 and 5 will that thing be done? Will that to-do be done? Note, when you do your to-dos, write them on a piece of paper, and each time you finish doing a to-do, scratch it out. Scratching out something will give you that great feeling of accomplishment. You need that feeling for motivation. Remember, with everything that we will be doing, we will be seeking to gain quick wins so that we stay motivated and driven. So scratching out that to-do on a piece of paper becomes a quick win for this lesson. Deadlines and accountability. After setting the time, day, and what will be done during those times, you need to set a deadline for yourself, because if you don't, you will procrastinate. Deadlines prevent procrastination and increase drive. With all the to-dos time estimates you've tabulated and the days you've dedicated on your calendar to do all that you need to do, you will be able to have an idea of how long what you need to do will take you. For example, if you're going to spend an hour a day from Monday to Friday, that means your deadline will be Friday. Don't add any extra days. Please don't cheat yourself. You need to be accountable to someone so that you will be able to deliver. And that someone cannot be yourself, and it cannot be God. It needs to be either a friend or a mentor or a family member. If you're not accountable to anyone, you will always push back your deadlines. Stakes go well with accountability. And I don't mean STEAK, but I mean STAKE. With stakes, I'm referring to having something to lose. If you have nothing to lose, then you won't be propelled to meet your goals. For example, you can create stakes by having a bet with a friend, but make sure that the money you bet on is worth meeting your deadline for. It should not be 10 rand. Or you can promise your friend that you will pay her 500 if you don't meet the deadline. Because there's something for you to lose, you will push yourself to meet the deadline. That's what stakes are there for. Putting it all together, now that you've worked out the problem you're solving, know your purpose, broke it down into a long-term goal, then broke down that long-term goal into a short-term goal, and those short-term goals into action steps and action steps into techniques, then selected your 80-20 technique and then made a list of all your to-dos, worked out your sequence in which those to-dos will be done, and determine how much time you will spend in a day working on your to-do, and have set up a deadline with someone to be accountable to with stakes in place. You will be right on track for the coming lessons, because most of the marketing techniques that we will be teaching you will come with action steps for you to implement. Therefore, you will need to come up with techniques for them, break them down to to-dos, then choose their sequence and the time you will spend on them. This will be good for you, because now you'll be applying the same worksheet that we will be giving you today on everything that will be coming forth. We will be setting your deadlines and stake, and you will be accountable to me, so you won't need to do those for the coming lessons. I hope you enjoyed this last lesson of the first module. See you in the next lesson when we start a new module. Bye.